Hello, hello. Welcome. Welcome to Two Queens and Crystal Things. This is a podcast where we are on some manifest your life, shift your mind, and raise the consciousness type of sugar honey iced tea.
Hey!
I'm Christy.
And I am Mia. And you can consider us your spiritual girlfriends for the next hour. Hey, boo. How you doing?
Hey, girl. So, girlfriends, spiritual girlfriends. Okay, so last week we talked about chakras. And we hope that this conversation helped to explain how they affect our daily and day-to-day lives. And I don't think I even mentioned, but so one of the good things about getting energy work done is if, energy eventually can manifest into something physical, which is the reason why you want to make sure that your chakras are balanced and all of that good stuff. Mm-hmm. I did not mention that last week. Shame on me. But the actual word chakra means a wheel or a disc in Sanskrit, and we talked about that too. But essentially, they are the life force energy centers in your body. And there is more than 7. There are, hundreds of them, I think, in certain places. I don't remember. But we're just going to focus on the 7. Those are the 7 basic ones. And they are the major energy centers in your spinal column. Chakras help us understand ourselves, and they each correspond to a specific organ, as well as physical, emotional, psychological, and spiritual states of being, and influencing all areas of our lives. And chakras are the major vehicles of consciousness, and we discussed the 7 main ones: root, sacral, solar, hot, throat. Yes, after she hissed last week. Last week's podcast, I got hissed at. Third eye and crown.
Okay, so today we are going to talk about embracing the duality of life and in your life. Okay, so look. Think of it this way. Everywhere we look, outside and within, we see dualities. Yin and yang, good and bad, light and dark, positive and negative, happy and sad, secure and insecure, passive and aggressive, all that stuff, okay? So the way that we think about these dualities affects our thought processes of how we look at the world. So if you put 2 sides of a duality against another, so if you're saying good versus bad, instead of it just being good and bad, so we tend to see the world as a place of conflict, and we're competing. It's this versus this as opposed to this and this.
Yeah.
But we need to understand that when we do that on the outside world, we also probably do that to ourselves. So we have the duality within us, and if we're putting them against each other, we're creating our own conflict.
Yes.
So because we all have these dualities within us, and it's a part of our soul. We talk quite a bit about embracing the fullness of you and being, we talked about shadow work, and so part of understanding these dualities is it helps to understand your entire soul. So if you bring them together, you're understanding the full picture of who you are. So we can't necessarily ignore them.
Right.
So yes, we have positive and dark, or we have light and dark. And so I know people are probably thinking, so wait, are you saying that we should just embrace and live on our dark side? I thought we're supposed to run from the dark. I thought that was bad.
I don't know why she's making you all sound that way.
Wait, no, seriously. No, this is not a joke. Anytime my ex-husband is trying to mock me, the voice that he uses, I'm like, serious?
Right.
Why do I have to sound like that?
Like we all do it. I know.
Why do we do that? So, Christy, can you break it down to him and say that's not what we're saying?
Yeah, that's not what we're saying. And to be honest, I would actually say that this conversation that we're having today is kind of a part 2 to what we already discussed.
About your shadow?
Yeah, about doing the shadow work. So I would say that this is an extension of that conversation. So no, we are not telling you to embrace the dark side, because both the light and the darkness in you are important and powerful parts of your life story.
Yes.
Do you guys get that?
Come on.
So in fact, in your life, you will constantly experience and oscillate between the two. So if you value one over the other, you deny important experiences and parts of self and life. Okay, so duality isn't just about light and dark. I believe it's also introducing the concept of accepting these forces, not just as opposites, but as complementary forces. And these two different forces don't have to cancel each other out. I think that's one of the things that we think about too, is that we think light and dark, oh, that means that it's just there, and that's not the case at all. They balance each other out like the wings of a bird. So if you think, there's no wing that is more important than the other, because they are both needed to keep the bird balanced. So we're just talking about balance. Balance.
Well, okay, so
Talk to me.
We label things. So we're asked the question, why do we always feel the need to label and judge everything? It's like we, as humans, we have to put a label on something so that, and I think that's part of the way that we feel like we understand something. It's like, okay, if I
tangible.
Yes. Yeah. If I label this person as bad, now I know how to control my behavior.
Right.
And I don't necessarily, I mean, we all do it, but if you really think about it, I'm not sure, do we necessarily need to do that?
I don't think we need to, but I just think, just how we are as humans, because we have to, in order for things to be real to us, we have to touch, taste, feel, see, hear. Not even feel, because, people say, well, how do you know, like, for instance, how do you know angels exist? Well, how do you know the wind exists? You can't see the wind, but you can feel it.
Right.
So, but I think for us, like, it's important for us to be able to have some sort of, like, we have to be able to assign it, it has to be, what's the word I'm looking for? We have to be able to touch it. Like, it has to be, guys, I can't remember the word I'm trying to think of.
It's almost like
tangible.
Yeah, it has to be something tangible, because for us, that's how, as humans, that's how we process something. So we do, but I think the issue is when we start to say it's good or bad.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It just is.
I agree. For real.
But I don't know.
But I don't think it's necessary. But I think just like human, like even if you think about when you meet someone, oh well, what do you do? Okay, because then you associate this person as...
Yes. You know what? I say that... I say this all the time. I started realizing this. I feel like when we meet people and we ask them, what do you do? We are literally making an assessment of whether or not this person is worthy for us to be speaking to.
Based on their occupation or career.
Ain't that some shit? So I don't ask people what they do anymore, because now what I really truly tap into, I don't have to ask you whether or not you and I should be having a conversation, because I'm all up in your energy. I can feel you. So and that's such a much better indication of
all up in your energy.
All up in, like, oh, okay, I like your energy. We can vibe. We can talk. I don't need to know what you do for a living when I first meet you. But yeah, so there is literally a law of duality. And I should have wrote it down, but it's something to the effect of, we experience all things on the continuum of life. You know what I mean? Like the ups and the downs. So, but this is the one thing that we need to remember. Okay.
You were actually pretty on point, Mia.
What is it?
The law of duality basically states that everything is on a continuum and has a complementary opposite within the whole.
Hey. I be remembering stuff. Okay, but so where does it come from? So this is something that like, honestly bothers me.
These are some really tough questions, though.
I know. This honestly bothered me. Do trees see things as good or bad? Does a flower see something as good or bad? No. Beautiful or ugly, or right or wrong? So where does that, honestly, where does duality come from?
I have no idea.
This is something I'm like, so the trees see everything as it just is. If when winter comes, the trees, I'm like, oh shit, it's the bad season. It's just winter is here, and I am what I am.
But see, I was thinking, so as I was kind of doing some research on this too, I was thinking like duality in nature. And it's just a really good question. And so I started thinking of, like, think about the instinct animals have.
Yes.
You know, it's either life or death for a lot of animals, you know, wild animals. So it's like, for me, I feel like they have that instinct, like, right off the bat, in terms of, like, being able to survive. But I also feel like for humans, it's a little bit different because, like, but I feel like, so in the animal kingdom, of course, the animals that don't have a conscious, I feel like for them, it's more like an instinct. Like, okay, I have to run from this animal or else I'm going to die, you know? But for humans, I think that there are different layers to duality because we have a consciousness or conscious? I'm sorry, you guys. I've been drinking.
We have a conscience.
Gosh.
That thing.
You guys know what I'm trying to. You know what I'm trying to say. Look, I'm drinking some wine, so you all know what I'm trying to say. So yeah, humans, I feel like we have the ability to think logically and to analyze things, whereas animals not so much. It's like it's either, you know, hit or run. I don't know. But that's a really good question. It'd be interesting to hear our listeners' thoughts on duality, if you guys have any feedback.
Like, so if there is if duality exists in all things, right? So, and it's not necessarily an opposite, but it's a complementary. So what would be the opposite or complement to nature? It's just, and so I don't think there is. So I just think that there would be nothingness. So my point is,
what about humans?
You want humans? Yeah.
Do you think humans could be a complement to nature? No, my brain is starting to hurt.
I think we are a part of nature. I don't know.
So you don't think we're separate?
No.
That is a good, like, what would complement nature?
Like, it's I don't know.
Okay,
sorry guys.
I'm over here hurting my head.
She said, wait, my head hurts. But here's the thing to remember. Everything is evolving all of the time, right? So back to nature. It's always evolving. It understands this process. It's going to go up, but it's going to go down. And nothing is stable. Nothing is always anything. So the only constant in the world is that nothing is constant.
True, yeah.
So, and it's like, so everything moves and transforms itself. So when we start to label things, so think about it. If I start to label you as a bad person, I'm not giving you space to transform and do what you're going to do, what we're all going to do. So when we do that to ourselves, if so, you know what I mean? Like, if we do that to ourselves, then why would, you know, we're actually hurting ourselves. We're not allowing ourselves to be what we are, which is constantly changing and evolving. And we try to stop ourselves. Yeah. So when we do things that are bad, like, have you ever lied to anybody, Christy?
I have.
Oh my gosh! And now
I'm not a good liar, though.
but I mean, like, I'm keeping it real. If I have lied, I have cheated.
Yeah.
I have done a lot of things that when I look back and I'm like, that wasn't a good thing.
I've murdered.
You what?
I've murdered.
Murdered. Your rabbit?
No! Oh my gosh! No! Fishes. When my son was like 4 years old. Oh my gosh! God bless your soul, Winter. Your earthly mother loves you. I mean, I may have opened the door a couple times for her to escape and have a hawk catch her, but I've never even considered murdering her.
I'm sorry, that was funny. You literally almost jumped out your chair. You're like, no, like you got caught like a bad kid. What? Who told you? What?
Where are the cameras?
But if I stopped and then just labeled myself as I'm bad now because I did this, then I wouldn't have allowed myself to grow. And hell, we do that to other people, but that's literally what we do because we don't even want to acknowledge that it exists in us.
So labels imprison us.
Ooh.
And whatever that label is, And, we talk, this is another conversation. Maybe I shouldn't even mention it here when we talked about genders and stuff. But, I think labels also kind of keep you bound and does not allow room for outside of just that. So maybe that's why people don't like the labels. I don't know.
Well, I'm trying to think. But here's the thing. If we're being honest with ourselves, we don't like the labels when we only don't like the labels if it's a label that says we're bad. But that's
true,
because we've already labeled something as good and bad.
Correct.
But if everybody's saying, "Oh my God, you're amazing, you're awesome, you are this, you are that," and you agree with their assessment of your label, you're like, "My label's fine. This is designer.
My label's good.
This is designer."
Yes.
But if it's not a label that we agree with, or that we determine not to be a positive,
yeah, that is true. So, where did it all come from?
Exactly.
Where did this shit come from? Bam!
Where did it come from? Why
that's good. That's bad. Mm-hmm. White's good. Black's bad.
But let's think of it this way. When we what do you call that? When we're going through the embryo, when the egg is first fertilized, right? The sperm gets in there and it stays for a while, but the first thing that it does is split. And then it splits again, and it splits again. And so it's almost like this. So I like to think like duality from that aspect is like there would not be life without duality.
That is true.
So it exists,
that's
but
deep.
our options of labeling it is the new shit. I'm like,
right.
So what is that? You know what I mean? Because at that moment in time, all we know is like we're one, and then now we're 2 little cells in there, and then we're 4 little cells in there. We're not that first one, and they're not looking at each other like, oh, I'm the good one, you're the bad one.
Right. It just is.
Are.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Girl, she is over here spitting. Spitting facts.
I'm dead.
Hurting my head in the process because as I'm like thinking about it, I was like, wow, like I've never thought about this shit.
So it has to exist.
Right. But the fact that you said that life would not exist without duality.
It wouldn't.
So think about when we try to suppress that.
Exactly.
Spiritually, we are committing a spiritual suicide.
Ooh.
I'm sorry, that may or may not be the weed, but hey, look, you guys, you're family at this point. If you listen to this podcast, you're family at this point. I'm just, look, it is what it is.
So when we okay, so we're just back to the point you're saying. Okay, so it just is. We don't look at the other side as bad or wrong. So that's where judgment comes in.
Yeah. Because
we label it because we want to be able to judge it. All right. So, but here's the thing: if I'm what do you call it? So the idea is if you emphasize on one side, you are really emphasizing the other side. Like one can't exist without the other. Yeah. So when we talk about shadow work and accepting yourself, if I'm always chasing and running away from any darkness because I'm like, no, light, I need all the light, and I'm not accepting of the darkness, I'm really emphasizing the darkness because I'm paying so much attention from running away from it. So that's why we just have to just go ahead and accept that it is. That's crazy.
It is.
That it is.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And as far as and I think I might have noted it, but I also feel that when you emphasize one side,
that's what
that's what you said.
I was like, are you know what?
No, but I was piggybacking.
I'm piggybacking
off of what you were saying because I agree that too. But I think what did you say? When you emphasize one, you emphasize the other.
If you're running from one or focusing on one, you're really focusing and emphasizing the other side. It's like it's the same thing because they both exist.
But see, I think that you create an imbalance when you focus on one side.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Abso-freaking-lutely.
Okay.
And then spiritually, you are seriously, you are creating and imbalancing yourself. So even though, and here's why though, but this I understand. I don't know why it happened, but this I understand. When we created the idea of heaven and hell, right? So we said, so what we did was we disconnected ourselves from that we are part of we are all. We are a part of everything. We are a part of the universe. And then we said, okay, now when you go to heaven, that means that you are good.
Yeah.
And if you are not good, then you're going to hell. So now what I've done is I've created an incentive for you to be good. And so because I've built this fear, this looming fear. If you're bad, you're going to go there. So then what happens with us is we don't even accept the bad or the darkness in us because we don't understand it, because we're saying I'm going to hell if I'm bad. But really, they exist together. Our darkness pushes us to our light, just the same way our light pushes us to the dark. How the hell do you know if something has light in it if you don't know what the dark is? How do you know what up is if you don't know what down is?
Yeah,
they have to both exist.
That's true.
When we are denying ourselves to the point where you're like, oh, this does not exist in me, you are truthfully harming yourself, and you're not helping your spiritual journey.
No, you're not helping. But I will say, shout out to one of my crystal healing clients who listens to the podcast, and she is doing the work. She is dealing with the dark side.
And you just got to get in there. But I'm trying to think, why do we think dark is necessarily bad? I was, oh my goodness, what was that?
Of course, we were trained to believe that.
But I mean like literal dark. So we think of it as a spiritual thing. And it's not necessarily, I think like it's literally historical. When we first came down here, these people are animal, like darkness meant that we weren't protected. We couldn't see ourselves. So it was always go to the light because now you can see. Yeah. But that was like survival on this planet. Like stay in the light because you can protect yourself. Yeah. In the darkness, but anything will come snatch you. So it was just the light and dark, but it wasn't necessarily like good and bad. It was just survival. Okay. And now we've just been sitting here thousands of years trying to figure out how to survive, and now we have good, bad, and light and dark, and we mean dark means death and bad, but that's not necessarily spiritually. That's not necessarily it,
right? Because remember when we talked about what was the other episode that dealt with the dark shadow work? Sorry, so shadow work. So you had talked about, you gave that analogy of the plant, the seed going into the dirt, into the darkness, and once that little seedling was in the darkness, it was there that's where the plant began to grow, and so there is evolution in the darkness.
Yes. Ooh, I like that.
And so I think, and it's funny because I never thought about this until all of this now, but you have to embrace the darkness because that's what builds us. Like imagine living a life where everything is just perfect all the time.
And the thing is, you wouldn't know it was perfect because you have nothing to compare it to. But I like wait, hold on. You brought up the analogy. That's a perfect example of darkness pushing you towards the light. When you're in the ground, you're in a seed. The dark, you are pushing towards the light.
That's a really good analogy.
So the dark, but you would not be able to push towards the light if you weren't in the darkness. Yeah. Hell, baby's coming out the womb.
And you wouldn't know what light is if you didn't know what dark was.
Exactly. But
my mind is blown. I just did a pop. Look, that's my brain.
You hit on balance earlier. Just saying that if you're focusing on one side, you're basically living in balance. Or your life, you're being
out of balance.
Imbalance.
Imbalance.
Seriously? Imbalance or imbalance? Unbalance? Imbalance. See, this is what
I think it's imbalance. I am.
That's what it totally is imbalance. Why am I asking that? I don't want to talk anymore. But stop saying words. So balance. So duality teaches us that everything is created from balance because of the interaction of those opposite or complementary forces. Yep. But so they don't cancel each other out. There's the balance. So the bad parts of yourself I don't know if we talked about this. Don't cancel out the good parts of yourself. It just merely shows you more understanding. If you really think about, when I think about like how much of a gift life is, because we are literally just down here and then just said, okay, you have the power to create. And like here, go, and you literally have the power to create your life. And so I think what happens is, wherever we're from or something, I don't think that we have the ability. It's like we know all, but we're not necessarily able to experience all.
Yeah.
And as humans, we get to experience all. So sometimes we do things that because we want to see what we can do. And it's literally like, let me stretch to see how many versions of myself I can be, how many expressions of myself that I can be. And sometimes you don't know how good you are until you do some bad shit.
That's true.
You have no, like, you're like, oh, I don't necessarily know I like how that feels. And sometimes when you do bad stuff, you know, I'll be honest, it feels good. but and we're only labeling it bad just because,
right, just because
for understanding in this conversation. But I mean,
but see, you know, I'm wondering if the whole idea of duality came to better control us. Because just like, I mean, we've talked about,
I love that,
religion, and we've talked about how all of these things, how it's kind of trained us to be like these humans, like, you know. But then a lot of us are starting to wake up and we're starting to realize that, you know, yes, religion is a means of basically telling a story of enlightenment, but it's kind of used in various ways. And I think it's also used in different religions to control people. But I honestly, like, if we understood what we're capable of, if we understood that we are able to create the life that we want, if we understood the powers that we had, like, imagine how this world would be. They don't want us to know that.
First of all, the world would be beautiful if we all were able to create and understand the power of who we are. But no, that's why you have the label, the good and the bad.
Right, they want to control us.
Because it's like, go towards that way, and if you don't, that gives me a reason to...
You're going to hell.
You're going to hell.
You're going to burn for eternity.
You're going to hell. But, so when so right now we're talking, like, you know, out in the world, but like if you really take this internally, then we're talking about that duality of self. The truth of the matter is, you for real cannot fully understand one side of the dual nature of something without comparing it and understanding the opposite. So I'm gonna break it down. You cannot understand how strong you are unless you've been weak.
Yeah.
And I would say I'm strong now because I've been weak. And I feel like it's like, you know, on that pin, every time I think about the duality and then the up and down the cycle, I always think of the infinity sign symbol for me. And it's just, I feel like the weaker I've been, the stronger I am. So if I'm just like a little weak, then I'm a little strong. That's just...
Yeah, so like, they mirror each other.
Yeah, it's like the yin and the yang.
The yin and the yang.
And
I don't
exactly.
know why I'm doing this with my hands, but yeah.
So, So why do we stop trying to? So we're like, honestly, guys, the truth is just understand yourself. Reach in there and talk to yourself about why you did what you did. Be honest. Like, anything that you consider bad, to stop labeling it like I did bad, but because you're having a conversation with yourself, the point is to grow and to get back on that continuum. It's like, okay, but what did I learn about myself or about life or about my purpose?
It's all about lessons.
Whatever. It's all about lessons. But in order to even get to the point where you are learning about yourself, you have to acknowledge to yourself, this is not, no, we're not saying, but you know, like, yeah, I fucked up. Like, yeah, I did do that. But we so sneaky, you know, we lie to ourselves.
All the time.
Baby, let me tell you, I was all lying to myself. I mean, when I think about the lies I told myself, I'll just be like, whoo.
And you believe them.
You are creative. But you believe them.
Yeah.
And lying to yourself about yourself, like, for real though, like, for what? Because for what?
Right, because you're the one that has to look at yourself in the mirror every single day.
Well, what does that do?
It does absolutely nothing.
To yourself about yourself, that's not really about yourself. That's for somebody else. That has nothing to do. There's no freak way because your body knows. You can sit up, just like, you know, when how many somebody's about to feel, I'll say people about to feel seen. I'm about to be like, how many of y'all out there was virgins like 5 times? But because it's like,
that wasn't me.
But you know how people are just like, you know, they wanted their boyfriend, whatever, to believe that they were the first, and so they just kept saying this over and over and over again. But you're lying to that person, but you're trying to convince yourself. But your body down there like, oh, this okay, well,
this is what we're doing today.
Okay, I guess I'm a virgin again. Shit like that. What is that doing for you?
So it does, and you know, I'm thinking about one person in particular who has lied to themselves for a good portion of their life. And what it does for this person is that it allowed them to pretend, pretty much like live a life as a character. Like, this is the person who I want to be. This is a character. And as they're denying that true self, they are eating themselves up alive inside. So ultimately, when you deny yourself, confronting yourself and your issues, you are self-sabotaging yourself.
Now, this is interesting. Okay, so you talk about the character, right? I'm conflicted about it because that is still another form of creation. That in and of itself. So
like creating a character.
It's like that's another like. I swear life is so beautiful to me. Okay. Like, so for you to say, you know what, I'm not this person anymore. You know what, my name is not Christie anymore. This is like, I'm like,
my name's Cow.
Right. And like I could just like, you know, I'm no longer Mia. Just call me Heart Loves All and Journey, and that's what I said. And then I just can create a whole character because that's an expression of who I want to be. This is the issue, though. Because I think we're supposed to create who we want to be. But the issue is when you cut off the other parts of yourself.
Yes, okay.
I'm bougie and ratchet. Like legitimately. Like, no, I'm not trying to be funny. I am Mia. I am Christie. Like, I'm really into like girlies. I am very bougie, okay? But I'm ghetto, y'all. It is what it is. But when we're going through life, you have to pick which one I want. So I would, you know, I could be, you know, at work in corporate America and be, you know, all of that, and I get to choose, and I could choose to be that person. But I never took it as far as to be like, that means that I'm not this person. It's just that I understand where I am.
Right. There's a time and a place.
And which expression of myself needs to come out. But it took me a long time to understand that you don't have to be one, and especially women, you guys. I feel like we have to be one. I'm either the virgin or I'm a slut, or you know what I mean, like,
or I'm focusing on my career, or I'm a mom.
Yes, like we feel like we have to choose an expression. Like, you can only be one. It's like, you know, I'm all of that. I'm that too.
I'm all of it.
I am. Oof.
I am.
Ooh, I am. Yes. Yep. That too. Like, wait a minute. So you are a CEO, a mom, and you curse and smoke weed, and you got a couple boyfriends? Yep.
Oh, okay.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, people can be all of that, and when we deny that we even have the ability to do that, that's a mental mind fuck like a motherfucker. Like, why?
Yep. See, that's why I knew. That's why I fucks with you, because I was like, okay, yeah, we're about to be cool. Once I got to know her. But as you were saying, like, when you deny yourself, like those parts of yourself, that is, I'm sorry, I'm thinking about people that I have dealt with, and it's crazy because as they were denying themselves, if I'm supposed to be like a reflection or a mirror of him, being my spouse, I was starting to deny aspects of myself, which I did.
Freaking absolutely.
And so, like, think of how that can even trickle down. Maybe then your kids start to deny certain areas of themselves. And it's just like, now is the time to accept and embrace the whole, like, the fullness of you. Man, you guys, we're going to do something with that. The fullness of you. And just embrace it. And we don't need to talk about that. We already talked about that.
Okay, so we asked. So I was thinking about this, the duality and oneness. So when you think, okay, so one way to illustrate this, to understand that it both exists in you. When you think about a coin, it's two sides to a coin.
Yeah, I do like that.
But it's still one coin. Like, it's not two coins, it's one coin with two sides. Same for us, y'all. Like, just to simplify it. But in order to experience being that one coin and not just being the tail, I'm not about to spend my whole life just being the tail. Sometimes I want to be the head.
Hey. Sometimes I want to be on top.
We have to embrace both sides. But then, you guys, once we start embracing, like, those lessons that, those dark paths that we go to, those mistakes, all that shit, they are like the best freaking teachers.
They are.
Because you look back like, ooh, oh, I get it. I did that.
But it's funny because
love is real.
Yeah, no, it is. Because I was thinking about, when I was dancing, I was in my teens, late teen, 19, living in New York, a big city, and I was working, I was dancing, I was, chasing after this dream. And I remember being in a situation where I was just, like, I had no money. I was broke. Like, I had nothing. I didn't even have money to get to the dance studio. And there was this guy that I met. And his name was, and it's funny because now that I'm older, I'm like, duh. His name was John Doe. And and he was a private investigator, so I'm sure that's the reason why he gave me John Doe. But I would always just call him John. But then when someone asked me what was his name, I'm John Doe. John Doe. Anyway, so I just met him at a cafe on the Upper East Side, and we started talking. I was telling him I was dancing, and then somehow we just ended up talking about things that I was going through. Well, this man, and I call him my guardian angel, he would give me money. He would help me out to make rent. He would assist me. And that was a very dark...
His name was John
Doe. And there were several times where he would give me money. No flinching, no blinking. What is it you need? So now when things are needed from me, I mean, I'm a giver just by nature. I'm a giver. But someone was like, well, maybe because you went through that dark phase in your life, maybe that's why, while in the light, you have such a giving spirit. And I never thought of it that way.
Absolutely.
But now that we're talking about this, I'm like, oh.
Yes. She just had an epiphany, you guys.
Wow.
Absolutely. For certain.
That was a rough time.
But see, the glow up is real. But see how you can look back on it and see the lesson in that time and like the grit that you have. Like, you're going to make it work one way or another. But if you've never had to figure out a way to make it work and go through that dark time, how do you know how to do it? We way too grown. Let me tell you something. I don't regret any of the things, like any of the lessons I've learned, any of the mistakes that I've made, just in terms of what is done for me. Like, we too grown to be in our 40s, and the first time something bad happens, the shit hits, we just like, oh my God, what the hell? That's why you can't skip lessons.
Yeah.
That's why you have to like, when I say stuff roll off my back like water rolls off the back of a baby seal, I'll be like, oh, okay, well, let's just work this out. It's so different now, but there's no way that I would be there if I have not. Ooh, girl. Ooh, child. I mean, like,
it takes work. It takes work, and it takes maturity.
Work. But in recognition, and we gotta start judging ourselves.
Yeah.
Stop judging yourself, because what's that going to do for you?
Nothing but imprison you.
More imprisonment.
And we don't want that.
Yeah, we're trying to be free out here.
Yes, we are.
Okay, hold on. Let me see. Is there? Okay, hold on.
Oh, I like this. As far as free will.
So okay.
I like that.
So we're on. Let's get back on our duality continuum. Okay, we're on there, and we know that at times, if we just but allow life to be what it is, we're going to be on both sides at one time. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. There's this wonderful thing called free will.
Ooh.
Free will. Boy. Because let me tell you something. Let me just say this and let me get back to this point. The reason that I love free will, if you remember that everybody has free will, you will never have a question about how somebody feels about you or thinks about you, because when you are questioning, like, oh, does this person like me, or does he like me, or is he this? Know that this person is always exercising their free will, just like you are exercising your free will. And it's just you don't have to You don't have to.
There I go, feeling seen.
Nothing because they go. But the free will is beautiful.
There she goes talking about my business.
I'm just talking the perspective that we choose on that continuum, and positive or negative, whatever, is ultimately determines what we see. So, but every person is free to decide where they want to land on that spectrum of duality.
So true.
So you can try your hardest to stay someplace, but that free will is like, whoo. So, okay. I know people are probably saying, like, if we're not supposed to seek the light and goodness, because I know this can get confusing, and shun the dark and the bad, then what are we striving for? Mm-hmm. So this, to me, is why it's so important to understand the duality of you. When we accept the concept that you are either good or bad, you are going to heaven or you are going to hell, and that's it. And once you die, that is it. What you basically are doing is stopping your own powers to create what the hell that you want. You have to accept the duality. There is death and there is life, and because there is death, there is life, and because there is life, there is death. They do not. One cannot exist without the other.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's like, so now you have you've taken on this, I'm good or I'm bad, and I'm living this life like that, and sometimes just like, fuck it, I'm bad, because I tried good, it doesn't work. People actually do this because they feel like they have to make a decision.
Fuck it, I'm just gonna be bad.
Right, so I'm just gonna be bad. So now we've taken on this mission in our life. Like, this is your mission. You go to heaven, or be good and go to heaven. So now we've accepted, but that's not your mission. That ain't your fucking purpose. So, but you got to get past the label and everything that they're telling you, so to understand. So I would say when we're talking about duality, and what we're striving for is not to go to heaven at the end of your life. No, it's not to work, pay bills, do and be what other people have assigned and labeled you to be, and strive for the limits. Like, it's just like, oh, one day, little girl, you can be a CEO. Well, baby, maybe I don't want to be a CEO. Right. Maybe I want, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, you could be anything that you want to be. So I'm saying that what we're striving for is back to the oneness. Yeah. By accepting the duality, you come back to your oneness. And when you in your oneness, because it's like, oh, I see both and I'm here. It's just, so what we're striving for is back to our oneness, and your oneness is also back to God. So it's not you are good or you are bad that you can go back to God. When I say back to God, I'm talking about back to our spiritual selves, back to who we are. We always talk about, that we are spiritual beings having a human experience at this time. So what we're striving for is, can you imagine if everybody just accepted, like, who they are, what the power that they have in them, and just walk around being these beautiful gods and goddesses, and just doing their part to raise the consciousness together, what type of world this would be? It would be phenomenal. It's beautiful. And I think, So just imagine if you are one of the people who embrace all of that and you're walking around this world understanding the duality, understanding how you are a part of everything, how everything is in you, how there is no flaw in you, how your path is laid for you for a reason, how there is a purpose on your life, and still get to live in. That's fucking amazing. Sign me up.
Right.
Just walk around this heifer float.
Although some days I'm like, beam me up, I want to go away.
but as we're a work in progress, we're seeing like, wow, this is who I really am. Mm-hmm. Like, oh wait, and I still get to be here and choose what expression of myself I want to be. This is amazing.
Like, I will say,
it's a gift, y'all.
No, it is a gift. I would say that more recently I have actually felt that, like, oh my gosh, like, is this my life right now?
Yes.
Is this how things are?
Yes.
Is this, like, I just think of my dark times and then I think of where things are now. And
so just imagine if your life was always like this.
Then do you think you'd be bored? That was one of the things that I
don't think
took
you
note
would
of.
know. Like,
but what if you always like got what you wanted, always won the game, always like everything was always perfect? You don't think at some point in time like you would be bored?
Perfect is yes. Absolutely. Because you know what, so just like I said, just like your dark pushes you to your light, the light pushes you to the dark. So say, you always win and everything always goes your way. Mm-hmm. You know what those people do, right? Those are the sneaky people who have like secret gambling addictions. Because remember the continuum, however, no matter how high you go, there is some darkness there. And if you refuse to acknowledge it, within yourself, think about all the professional athletes, when you think about the most famous professional athletes, like the big champions, they have some darkness in them, but it's a secret.
Yeah.
But they seek it out because there's something in them that's like, I want to see what else I can do. In life, our purpose is to see what we can become. So if you're always becoming something that's great, like there's something in you can't help it. Be like, well, let me see what else I can become.
You need to say that again. You said in life, our purpose
is to see what we can become.
All right. I'm writing this out. I'm sorry. I'm just taking notes, because you want to be a student for life.
Yes, absolutely.
I like that.
So we are winding down. I like to give us a little like, okay, if we could take one thing away from this, it would be on your path to feeling whole and complete. One of the greatest things that we can do for ourselves is to embrace the duality within us, that's within us and around us, because it is everywhere, you guys. So I'm saying within and without, as we navigate this life, literally embracing it is one of the best things you can do for yourself. And you know what's so beautiful about that? That's all under your control.
Yep. Again,
because we are in the seat of power for our own life. You know what I mean, Jelly Bean?
We are all creators.
The more that as I'm going through the process, the more that I learn and I talk to my spirit guides, the more that they expose to me, I get so freaking excited thinking about like, y'all, we out here tripping. We got
you don't remember when we went to the retreat and I'm like, oh my gosh, Mia,
I get it now. Yes. Oh my goodness, I get it. It all makes sense. It all makes sense, but I'm so excited about it, and I get so excited about like sharing this to people. Like, you guys know, for real, like for real, we can do this. You like, it's not that difficult.
No,
and it's so beautiful. It's so. I just feel so lucky. I'm glad I came back this time around. I'm telling you,
because it's all a choice.
It's all a choice. I'm glad I chose to come back. So, temple work, a little homework. Hold on.
Boom, boom.
So, I think I said part of this earlier. So, I want you to think about the duality in your life. So, think about 3 things that you're proud of yourself about. So like I'm strong, and then I want you to think about the other side of that. So I think I said earlier. So I'm proud of myself. Like I think I'm resilient, like for real. But the only reason I know that is because I've been so weak.
Yeah.
So, and that's just me saying like, oh yes, I'm proud of myself. But and I'm proud of that too, because I wouldn't know this.
Right.
So I'm fearless because I've been afraid. A lot. Chrissy, do you want to lick the bottom? Do you want to lick the bottom of y'all? Did she just took the wine glass and tapped the bottom of it?
It has been that kind of day. I'm sorry, Sorry, not sorry.
I love myself.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've come to a place too where I love myself, but I'm still working on some shit, y'all. I'm still working on some shit.
Working on it. Shoot, we all are working on it. But the reason I love myself is because I have literally not loved myself. I wouldn't even know what this feels like. That's why I'm like a kid. It's like, oh my God, it's like a whole new life. Like, oh, I get to walk around loving myself. Oh, it's the jam. Why didn't y'all tell me? Y'all been selfish. Like, it's the jam. But the reason I can enjoy it so much is because I've been where I've hurt myself. Well, I haven't loved myself and I haven't chosen myself. So it feels so different because when I say I have put myself in positions where I am putting people before me, and this is the fucked up part. I honestly believe that in order for me to to be considered a good person means that I had to suffer for love. Yeah. Baby, that's the dumbest shit ever to me now.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
You do not have to suffer for love. There is nothing that you have to do to be loved. When we start asking ourselves, like, oh, what do I have to do to someone? Nothing.
And it's funny because in my other relationships, like the stuff that I dealt with, it broke me down to a point where I did not love myself. I did not think that I was deserving. I did not think that I was worth it. And there are still some, little trails of things that kind of pop up here and there. But I've gotten to a place where I really accept myself, even the negative, like the bad shit. It's like, oh well, this is, try and do better tomorrow.
Day to day, guys.
Right. But no, I have realized, and I've come into a space. It's not perfect by any means, but I've come to a place where I really appreciate myself. I love myself, flaws and all, and gotta embrace both sides.
And honestly, like, let's keep it 100. I like mess. I like the colorful, messy type of people who you can't fit in a box. I like people who have gone through some shit in life because I see them, I understand them. I love people who have been down in the depths and have, dug their way out or are digging their way out. I see power in guiding you. I like people who are like, everything's fine, it's perfect. It's like, oh, well, bless your ministry, child.
Because it has not been perfect for me.
It's not been for me. So I love colorful people. Like, you talk about
I've been through some shit.
Yeah. Like, girl.
I was thinking about in high school, like there was a phase where I was cutting myself.
You remember? Are you for real?
Yeah, or I would use like a lighter. It's so crazy. And
the thing is, we do things because like literally, I want to see what happens.
Right.
Like, I honestly think, like, for real, so I have cheated before, right? I think, and like,
same here.
In my life, I was like, I think I did it just to see if I could get away with it. Like, dead ass. When I look back on it, no reason. I just wanted to fucking see.
I think it was, for me, I think it was revenge.
I don't know. I just wanted to see. I just wanted to see if I could get away with it. And then there's, and it just like, and I want to see what I felt like. And then it's like, at the time, because I was always chasing love. So it was like a new high. I just wanted a new high. The you know what I mean? Like, that was the high for me. But it was just, and then it's like, oh, okay, now you got, it's like seriously like coming down off a drug. So then you do it, and then you're like, oh, I don't like that.
Right.
I promise I'm never going to do it again. You know what I mean? It's like you're like now you have the hangover from trying to get to that high, and then you have to deal with it. And then y'all, like, I'm just keeping it at 100. Y'all, like, it's like that. It's like that. But
you get the temple work.
I already did that.
Okay. Well, I guess it's time for Crystal of the Week.
Crystal.
Okay.
Fire.
Oh my goodness. This crystal has so much energy. So the crystal of the week is fire quartz.
Wait, it's right there.
And fire quartz is also known as a hematoid quartz because it has hematite inclusions. But fire quartz goes by a few other names such as specularite quartz and ferruginois quartz. I can't pronounce that. Fire quartz basically amplifies properties of balance and stability. So we're talking about balance. It also has an high energy, which removes negativity and transforms it into positive energy. So it transmutes the energy. And so this fiery crystal, you see what I did there? Will dissolve any imbalances you may have and is great for self-esteem, self-worth, and self-confidence. And the hematite infused into quartz balances the mind and brings clarity to emotions. And we always talk about emotions, energy and motion. And spiritual properties, fire quartz is a really great crystal to add to your collection. And one of the reasons why I suggest this is because it's said to also help heal hurt feelings in the past.
Perfect.
So the holy flame of this crystal can purify negative energy if your energy is running to things in the past. So fire quartz is a really great ally to help. And you all know how I like to meditate with it. So I use my left hand, which is the receiving hand, and then the right hand is the giving hand. So I meditate with it in my left hand. And I've only meditated with it once. It has actually a really... It's like a gentle but firecracker type of energy. I can't explain it.
Looking at it,
like it's not like moldavite. It's not like moldavite.
That's a very pretty fire quartz. That's one of the pretty ones I've ever seen. Actually, like the red looks like dried blood to me.
It does look like dried blood. No, it does.
But I like it. You know what I mean? It's not like you can touch, feel it. The way that that color is in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really gorgeous, but it has like this like firecracker type energy. Have you worked with fire quartz before?
I actually haven't. I've seen a bunch of them. I don't know. I haven't been drawn to it, but this one is pretty. Like this yellow in here. Mm-hmm. I really
looks like mango.
Yeah, this is a mango. Yeah, we got
mango and blood.
Mango and blood. Oh, mango and blood orange. That could be a cocktail.
Oh, okay. But this actually sits on my altar, so I know it has lots of really good energy. It's gentle, as I mentioned, but it's pretty powerful.
Do you use that for in your healing sessions?
No, I haven't. This has not been used for anyone, and this is not one of those crystals yet that I meditate with. Mm-hmm. It's not in my rotation, so it's just sits on my altar right now. But I think I'm gonna start meditating with it because I'm feeling the energy off of this sucker.
You like, wait a minute, I'm feeling something.
It is. I'm feeling myself. It's really good. But no, I notice that whenever I get crystals, somehow it just naturally happens. Like, okay, this is a personal crystal for me. Oh yeah, no, this is for clients only.
Oh, you separate them? Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Yeah, I get that.
I mean, there might be some like, oh shoot, I need like a lapis lazuli, and so I'll use like the raw one in the back. Maybe I'll use it for a meditation or something, but not like my everyday. Like my Lemurian, that's mine.
Oh, you know what? I almost brought my Lemurian today. We need to talk about it. Something told me to take a shower with my Lemurian. Nothing crazy, but just to wash it in the shower with me. I was like, that is interesting. And while I was holding it, I almost passed out because I'm sitting down and then I closed my eyes and the
energy?
The energy, I was like, oh shoot! Like, wait a minute. I was like, okay. I had to put that, like, we put that down over there. I'm like, let me get out the shower before, you know, and I don't like hot showers. It was like steamy in there. I was like, oh, wait. You about to.
The crystal almost done knocked her out.
Right. So, message of the day. So, I did a really good meditation today. Before I got knocked out with my crystal. So the reason that we do, you know, we say this at the beginning of every episode, that one of the reasons that we do this is because we really do want to raise the consciousness.
Yeah, we do.
And we do want people to shift their minds about themselves.
Yep.
So when I was meditating today, and I asked him, like, okay, you know, today's recording day, you got anything that to share? The first thing that came up was access to self. So we give people, when we engage with people in any level, we give them access to our energy. You know, we're allowing. It's like, you know, we're allowing the intake when we share energy with people, right?
Yep.
So we're allowing them in ours, just like there, you know, there's a give and take there. And so we know we always say, you know, be careful about the energy that you have around you. But what I think a lot of us need to learn how to do, and what came up was, we don't give that access to ourselves to see ourselves. Oftentimes we're just emitting and checking other people's, but how often do we stop and kind of turn and face ourselves and look at our own energy? And so basically the message is, start looking at your own energy, because, you know, we talk about energy and vibrations and the frequency, and we sometimes, and we say this all the time, you know, whatever energy you give off, that's what you're attracting. Sometimes we don't even know what energy we're giving off because we have not stopped and given ourselves access to ourselves. Right. So
I feel that.
Stop.
Pause.
Because as you are manifesting and creating your life and the things, you want to be very conscious about the energy that you're giving off of yourself. But that means you have to stop and acknowledge and look at it. And you know what I mean? Like
that's why I like meditating. Yes. Because it makes you stop. And then I've gotten to a point where I can like feel like the call, like, okay, it's time for me to meditate. But it's just, it allows you to just stop and really, I mean, it's the time where I do a self-check. I check my chakras. I check my, like, how's your energy? What are you doing? What are you saying? How are you coming off?
Now, and here's the last part of this. And guys, this is, so lately for me, what's been coming up, and so when something comes up, you know, I get to meditate. I'm like, come on, y'all, let's talk. What's been coming up for me? I've been, a lot of the things that have happened in the past, or things that I'm growing from, or I had to heal from, they're coming up. Like real strong. Like I'm seeing it, and I'm like, okay, so what is this about? So when I asked, and they said a lot of people have it there, like, you're not the only one. It's just that time. So, because you're like, I think I even did a video about this. So and I'm like, okay, but I'm feeling good. Like, why is this coming up? Yeah. What you trying to do to me? Like, I was over here just skipping down the street, and all of a sudden I'm into what? I'm good. So the reason that happens is because you're being asked to relook at that situation from a different perspective, and your new perspective, because you have grown and you have healed. And so
that was a good video, by the way. Sorry.
Oh, thank you. That was good. And no, but that's like, for real, that straight up happened right at that moment. I was just like, I'm like, and I was like, oh my, like, it just came over me, and I'm like, where did this come from? Yeah. But so when that happens, it's they're saying like, okay, stop. And we just want you to just, because it doesn't go away just because you heal from it. It's a part of who you are, and we're just asking you to go back and look at it from your new perspective, because there's still lessons there. There's still more for you to learn about yourself by looking at that in a more evolved version of yourself.
Yeah.
So it's not for judgment. It's just new perspective of who you are and what that means for you at this time in your life, and that's all that is, y'all.
Well, it's funny that you said that.
You're not going backwards in life.
Yeah,
breathe. We good.
Well, no, but it's funny that you said that, because when I was in an abusive relationship, in the relationship, I was thinking, okay, what did I do? Mm-hmm. And then once I was out of the relationship, I was like, okay, well, he did. Mm-hmm. But then once I evolved out of that relationship, I'm like, why did I even think that I would even want to be with someone like this? Like,
Christie,
the perspective changed.
Perfect. Oh my God, I love that.
I was like, I cannot believe, like,
that is
why would he even get the time of day?
Exactly. So now it's looking like, why isn't it going? Not why did he hit me? It's more like, wait a minute, hold on, what was going on with me that I thought that was?
Why is that okay?
So when those things come, that's perfect. So
but see, now
that's the lesson that you're supposed to get out of those things.
But now I feel like I'm in that phase where it's like, well, why did I feel like it was okay? Yeah. Now I'm in that phase,
right? And that's access to self.
Yeah.
Because that's self-knowledge.
Meditation, I'm telling you guys.
It's the bomb. That self-wisdom, that self-knowledge is so freaking important. So guys, when the stuff comes back up, we're not freaking out. We're not,
it's like, okay.
Especially sometimes if you think about like exes, you're like, wait, does that mean I'm supposed to? What am I thinking about? No, because that's a perfect, like that example you just said, it's like, that's a perfect, I know that happens so much. You think back like, no, wait a minute, okay, what's this about? Just stop for a second. Okay? All right.
So pause. Okay, so a part of, we'll see if you guys send us questions. We got to get better with the Instagram, but it's coming. We may need to hire someone soon. I'll put it out there. Put it out in the universe. But so there is a question from one of our listeners, and I'm not sure if this question makes sense. We can probably just go off of what we think is being asked. So the question is, and this is a question from our listener. So the question is, they were interested in understanding how to be more responsive to auras, their own and to others. So I wasn't sure if he meant responsive or whether he meant like respectful. I wasn't really sure.
So
or maybe based off the energy, like your energy's coming off.
I'm thinking the way I'm interpreting the question is, like, I think that they might be talking about aura and energy kind of the same way. Like, you know how somebody's like your aura. People use that interchangeably between auras and energy. Yeah, they do. So it's like, oh, your aura is beautiful or something like that. So maybe the question is being able to feel other people's vibe. We're just going to call it a vibe. How do you respond? And being able to respond to theirs and your own. So I think that, they're gonna be so sick of me saying this. You want to know how you are able to be more responsive to other people's auras, energies, vibes, whatever it is. Get to know your own. Like they're gonna be so mad. Honestly,
I was pointing to myself.
She sure was. She was pointing to her heart. Like that's how. The more that you are accepting and knowing all the areas of your own energy,
the more you're accepting outside,
you're able to see all that in everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Able to see it, acknowledge it, respect it, and that's so true. So true. All right, so that was a question from our listeners.
So we're done.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, wait. So, next week, we are going to interview a girlfriend of ours.
Yes.
So
it's our first interview.
Yes, we're excited. And so, in our very first podcast, we discussed our spiritual journeys, and obviously, we continually talk about what's going on in our lives and our spiritual journeys. But we want to make truly an effort to try to share different types of spiritual journeys with you guys, because we want people to see themselves.
Yeah, everyone's
hear
different.
Something, see themselves reflected in our conversation. So we have our girlfriend Shannon, who is going to come and sit with us.
Hey, boo.
We're going to interview her, and she's going to share about her spiritual journey with us.
Yep.
I'm excited.
I'm excited too, and we're going to have lots of wine.
Oh my goodness.
And some other stuff. Well, thank you, everyone, for listening to Two Queens and Crystal Things. And before we go, again, we always ask for some love by liking, subscribing, and sharing our podcast. And you guys have been sharing our podcast with friends and family members, and we really appreciate it. We appreciate the new followers. We do have to, we are both very busy in our lives, and so we're going to get on this Instagram thing. But IG. But we have some really great things coming, and we just want to.
So excited, you guys.
We really want to be sure that you all continue to share the message, share the podcast, because a lot of people, especially in our DMs asking questions, there is a need for it. So please be sure to follow our podcast page on Instagram, which is Two Queens Crystal Things. Feel free to ask us questions. I'm going to get better with posting the polls. We'll get better with posting the polls. And again, there hasn't been enough responses, so I've just been collecting them. But if we get more responses, then we'll have more questions on the podcast.
An episode full of questions.
Yeah, if we have enough.
We're fine to just keep answering. We have a few more to come in. So you guys, ask away.
Yep. So, if you have questions for us to answer for the next show, you can also send them to us via email at info@twoqueensandcrystalthings.com, not thought.com. Until next time, beautiful people, light, peace, and soul. Thank you guys. So.